Jesse, so here's what I want you to work on. You have a lot of flick on downbeats, which comes from Rick, and it's almost a karate chop-like gesture, which the karate chop gesture is like the universal angle. So make sure that we don't put too much into that, because then it destroys the sense of legato. I would take and I'd turn my palm a little bit more over to the, and I'd just feel like you just barely touch it. Da, 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 da. Take all of the flick out to maintain that really good sense of legato. Cool? Everybody, who's next? Kaylee, you're next. Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be, He is Alpha and Omega, He the source, the ending key, of the things that are, that have been, and that future years shall see, evermore and evermore. Do evermore and evermore. Ever. Do it again without accenting ever. Make it legato. Float, 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 float. Take all the way down. Evermore and evermore. You're trying to make more a half note, but that's the last one. Okay. So this is quarter, quarter, evermore. One more time. Float, float, float. Stop beating it to death.
Okay.
Evermore and evermore. Kaylee's super athletic. Do you see kind of the energy into that beat? She really cares. And one of the challenges that those of us who are really passionate have is that oftentimes that energy or that want will show up in our gesture as urgency or energy that we don't necessarily want. So we have to be super, super careful. You're going to have to be careful with that. I want you to solve it two ways, Kaylee. In the mirror, bring the lowest gestures. Right now they're like belt line level. Okay. Bring those up just a little bit, especially here because it's not heavy singing. And let it just live in a lighter spot. And I want you to really begin to explore the left to right. Okay. Make sense? Because right now everything's vertical. Good job. You've mastered that. Well done. Ba da 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 da. And remember, everybody, just touch the ictus. You don't have to say here, here. Because every time you draw attention to it, that we have to do that either by a weight change or a speed change, or both. And weight changes and speed changes imply non-legato. You dig? Can I get a yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
Does that make sense? So don't pound those. Trust us. Trust us. Just your changing direction, we will know exactly what you had in mind. Cool, cool? And double check too. Make sure you're stable.
Okay.
Got a little bit?
I felt a little bit at the beginning, but I was trying to stay still, so.
Yes, ma'am. Good for you. Good for you. Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be. Stop. Let's all get in the same key. Please sing it up the octave. Tiffany, I want you to memorize the first measure. There's two things that are happening that are really confusing. You're starting here and you're going, and you're just starting. Remember, 3 and 4 and. Of the, freeze at beat 1. Just count it inside your head. 3 and 4 and. And make eye contact with us. Breathe beat 1. Eyes up. Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be. well done, Tiffany. Obviously, you prepared like crazy. Some really good eye contact in the middle. The only thing that I would ask you to work on specifically is everything is in a pretty small box, and so we don't get much in the way of contrast. I want you, just you personally, to see if you can expand that box, especially where you've got accented syllables. He is Alpha and Omega. Just so that we're seeing some real intentional hierarchical changes between the notes and you're not just beating through on patterns. Great job. Give her some love, everybody. Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be, He is Alpha and Omega, He the source, the ending, He of the things that are, that have been, and that future years shall see, evermore and evermore. Well prepared. So, Gordon, I want you to concentrate on a couple things going forward. Figure out the spots that you can abandon the score to make eye contact with the ensemble, just to reinforce that connection. I also want you've still got your elbows are pretty down.
Okay.
I just like to see you just create that just a little bit more sense of breath. And then your gesture, if I could put you and Tiffany together, would be perfect.
Okay.
Your gesture lived in a pretty big conductor's box, which is great for the spaciousness. But see if you can find. For you, you were trying to give us some accents, but we couldn't tell because everything was already pretty big.
Okay.
See if you can reserve those biggest gestures for the strongest gestures, and then try to use the vertical plane to show us the strong and weak, or the dead beat / accented beat. So, for example, He is Alpha and Omega. Don't be afraid to utilize this. Everything does not have to live on exactly the same plane.
Okay.
You've disciplined yourself to do that. Now you can abandon it as you need for expressive purposes. Give him some love, everybody. Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be, He is Alpha and Omega, He the source, the ending, He of the things that are, that have been, and that future you shall see, evermore and evermore. So, a real strength of your gestures, everything's pretty relaxed. Just super easy to sing for, right? Katie, you have got to audiate the triples. Because you were just you were doing patterns, you were not hearing those pulsing eighth notes. So we saw no lift on the threes. Did you guys feel the rush? Feel the uncertainty, the tempo there? Everything, the gesture, the basic gesture is just very, very solid. I just think that the next step for you is expressiveness. Just do this for us, Katie. Can you? He is Alpha and Omega. I want to see 3 strong beats, 1 neutral beat, and 1 intentionally unaccented beat.
Okay.
Okay? Breathe on beat 1, big 2, big 3, relaxed 4. He is Alpha and Omega. Do it again.
Okay.
Go through mega. Go through the end of mega. He is Alpha and Omega. Are you seeing a hierarchy? How much? Scale of 1 to 5. 5 being a lot of hierarchy, clearly tell which was the most important, 1 being kind of hard to tell. Is it closer to 1 or closer to 5?
Closer to 1.
Significantly closer to 1. I want you to explore how ways you can tackle that. If you're struggling with that, come see me. We'll solve it together, okay? Thank you, ma'am. Give her some love. Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be, He is Alpha and Omega, He the source, the ending, He of the things that are, that have been, and that future years shall see, evermore and evermore. I loved everything except for the last beat.
Really?
It just felt like you were in a big old hurry to get to mo, or didn't feel music to me. You're more musical than that. Do evermore. Give me a little more of a rich heart. And then I have an assignment for you.
Oh, crap.
Oh, it's a good assignment. You're going to like it. Evermore and evermore. You're still really defining that beat. And there's nothing the matter with that. I just think you can be even more musical.
Okay.
Put more float, less flick.
Less float, less flick. More float, less flick.
Evermore and evermore. Just seems more musical to me. Your assignment is to go and assemble all of the Permian High School faculty, conduct this for them. Make a copy of it and give it to them. Just say, look what I'm learning in school. That's your job. Go. Give them some love. Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be, He is Alpha and Omega, He the source, the ending, He of the things that are, that have been, and that future years shall see, evermore and evermore. Cool. I've got about 3 things I want you to work on. I want you to watch the video. You've got this interesting, almost like scoopy gesture. It's almost like there's a down and in push. I want you to get rid of that. Only because there's 2 issues. It's out and it's at the extreme of the kinesphere. So immediately you know the problems we're going to have. The other thing I want you to do is I'm seeing your gesture is like living like below your belt line. Yeah? Like almost at your hip socket. That's too low, Levi. The reason it's too low is because, again, you're at the extremes of the kinesphere. You just lose so much. So bring it up. If you want to use that, He is. But don't live there, because then you don't have anywhere else to go if you want to say anything else. The other thing is that I am not seeing a clear direction change that shows me 2 and 3. If you want to put them all in the same place, which I see a lot of us wanting to do, if you're going to put 1 and 2 in the same place, you can't go 1, 2. The rebound of 1 has got to indicate that it's 1, 2. You've still got to be going out for 2. You've still got to be coming in for 3. Does that make sense? So don't keep it all in the same vertical plane, because then we do get lost in the midst of that. So get rid of the pushy, need the bread thing that's happened on your pulse. Bring everything up a little bit and give me a little bit more clear definition of where the pulse is. You'll discover that it's easier to do left and right too when you're not all the way down. Cool? Give him some love, everybody. Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be. He is Alpha and Omega. He the source, the ending, He. And stop. Really good. You remember the ID in the Jordan about bound flow? Bound flow, like when you feel like you're really. I want for you to let go. And I want you to start with your baton. Go ahead and grab your baton. Mm-hmm. Cool. Now I see like you've got a death grip on that thing. And so we see like this muscular fisty thing. It is difficult for a conductor to transcend their most engaged joint. If this is it, even if everything else is there, all of these muscles have to work to make that grab. So I just really just want you to hold this. This is gentle. Did you ever see that scene in Lord of the Rings where Gandalf is on top of the tower and he catches the moth and he brings it in and whispers to it and then sends it off the eagles? Can you please hold that moth gently as opposed to crushing it? He is Alpha and... Hey, if it works, man.
You and like imagery.
Well, because we've all seen that movie, right? If we haven't, we need to.
Sorry.
Richie, let's start right where you left off, brother. You're doing a great job. I just wanted to see if we could just... of the things that are that happen.
Okay, so just from like the beat before, or like the rest, or?
If you just breathe beat 3.
Yeah, sure.
Of the things... One more time. Of the things that are that happen, and that future years shall see, evermore and evermore. Loved your retard, man. That was spectacular. Give him some love, everybody. Just a little bit like Levi, kind of lives pretty low. Especially for something like this, it's a little easier. You could bring it up a little bit, maybe an in. And then I think, too, your wrist is having a tendency to go kind of like this, kind of like a shake hand gesture. And the source of that is your elbow. You could just get a little... You've got kind of a big wingspan already, so you're going to be able to get a great sound. Utilize that sucker. Create some horizontal. Good. Hop up there. Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be, He is Alpha and Omega. He the source, the ending, He. Of the things that are that happen, and that future years shall see, evermore and evermore. Cool, Jordan. Lots to like. Can you do evermore and evermore? And on that, you did more, and then you kind of did this sideways judder. This is almost universally, what gesture is this?
Like a stop.
Stop or out. Enough, right? So I don't think you want to do that on the resolution. Make sure that the resolution lives nice and vertical. Yeah? If you want to do that on the cutoff, you can, but more and evermore, more. See the problem? Because that's stop. That's enough. So just do evermore and evermore for us. Evermore and evermore. Good for you. One thing I want you to think about when you look at the video, you're going to see the same thing that Kaylee does. You've got a tendency to follow it with your body a little bit. While that's not categorically wrong, I think right now it's not something you're not doing intentionally, so I want you to get rid of it first, and then you can put it back in later. Really good use of the left hand. You see what he's doing with his left hand and the cadences to articulate those? Good. Good, good, good. Pop yours fine, just when you come up.
Ready, start?
Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be, He is Alpha and Omega, He the source, the ending, He of the things that are that have been, and that future years shall see. Evermore and evermore. So counterintuitively, he does great things with controlled float gesture, right? Super delicate, super light, super consistent. You did a great job for preparing the accent, but then you didn't get us to the accent, so we were like, do this for us. Can you go, he is alpha? And here's what I want, Nathaniel. I want he, and alpha to be here. So, he is alpha and omega. So put that gesture down here in your sweet spot. So when you prepare it, he is, so go all the way through the strong beat with the accent. You prepared it great, you went, but then you kind of moused into it. Go all the way down into it. He is alpha. Do it again, lower. He is alpha. Nice, that's the one. Watch that. See why that was so effective. Good for you. Give him some love, everybody. Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be, He is Alpha and Omega, He the source, the ending, He of the things that are that have been, and that future years shall see. Eyes up, watch him. Do what you see. Evermore and evermore. Cool. There's been at least 3 people, 1, 2, 3, that have a very low ictus as the default. Ryan, especially your downbeat. You're reaching down for that bad boy. I would pull that up, and I would save that for a very particular place. Everybody take your hand and stop. Find that spot. Go too low. Yeah, stop it. That's your new ictus. Now, you're kind of hands out and down.
Mine was down here.
Yeah, bring it right here, and bam.
I was saving that more
Bam.
for the accents, and then for some reason I kept.
You know, you were saving it, but you kept using it. You
I
kept doing it.
I was
And you
like,
can't
oh.
remember, as soon as we get out toward the edge of the kinosphere, we lose some flexibility and mobility. So I want you to find that mirror and see where you're ending to go low. I saw it a lot on downbeats.
Yeah.
Not on downbeats. Cool? Thanks, everybody. Give him some love. Well prepared. Bravo. source, the ending, of the things that are, that have been. Do that again, of the things that are. You were doing so good. Of the things that are, that have been, and that future years shall see, evermore and evermore. Well done, sir. So, what did you feel like you were the most successful at?
Probably I feel like I was better at the he is alpha and omega than I've been.
Cool.
I was a little bit better with that.
Cool. Do it again. Do it again. Do it just like you did it, and then tell me why it worked for you. He is Alpha and Omega. That wasn't what you did last time, but there were still some aspects of that you like. What did you like?
I try to make them a little different with the non-accent beats, make them probably a little bit higher, so I don't have to move as much.
Cool. He did a thing with just the shortest, but just the shortest sense of a pause at those strong pulses. Did you see what he did? And it was effective because it was otherwise pretty weightless. Do that again. He is alpha. He is Alpha and Omega. The pattern's all screwed up there, but you get that. You'll see that in the video. Okay. Have been was probably the thing that we had the hardest time. We couldn't tell if it was a 2 plus 3 or a 3 plus 2. What did you decide in your mind?
Either way, I forgot which way I should do that.
What did you write in your score? Did you write 3 plus 2 or 2 plus 3?
For that one, I wrote 3 plus 2.
Okay, so let's say, everybody say, take your hand and say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Do it again. Remember, it's got to be slow and slowly lift 4, 5. Do it again and go. Slowly lift forward. All the way to the top. Slowly lift. Some of us we're going slow and we're all the way halfway down before we get to lift. Say lift at the top and go. Slowly lift 4, 5. Have been. Do it with me out loud, everybody. Have been. Do it the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And go. Have been. The key to locking that tempo in is that lift, 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 lift. Practice that, practice that. Watch that in the video. See how we can get that cleaned up. Hop in there, Victoria. Give him some love, everybody. Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be, He is Alpha and Omega. He the source, the ending, He of the things that are, that have been, and that future years shall see, evermore and evermore. Good for you. Do evermore and evermore, except instead of putting more out here, can you put it right here? Make it a Victoria sound, not a somewhere else that's out there sound. Evermore? Evermore and evermore. Good for you. So if you want that to be an intimate sound, keep coming up, not out. Okay. Save out for the crescendos. Yeah. Cool. Good work. Lots to like. She really nailed the threes, right? The asymmetrical meters were so very, very clear. Victoria, your ictus is like every time is right at the same level. Congratulations. Well done. You now have earned the privilege of moving it around to find the hierarchy, because we did a much better job of clarity than we did of really showing us where the strong notes that you wanted. I saw you trying to do it, but it's just difficult when we're always using the same space. So you get to work with other options now. Good job. Give her some love. Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be, He is Alpha and Omega. He the source, the ending, He of the things that are, that have been, and that future years shall see. Evermore and evermore. Cool. So I think I figured it out. I think what Nick and Levi are doing on that little pulse, I think that's the wrist of the percussionist.
Probably.
I think that's the percussionist flick of the wrist. So as you look at that video, Nick, I want you to see how you can just allow the wrist, and imagine that is there anything that we do as percussionists where we just drop it in without there being, it's almost like a bell that's just like a chime or a triangle that's just like,
Like a finger symbol where you kind of. do
yes,
that instead of-
it's just that. It's not a flick, it's not a wrist action, it's just a drop through. So see if you can find that imagery to help you get the connection that does engage those muscles. Because you did such a great job of light, such a great job of flow, but we're still seeing this flicky. I loved how he slowed us down at the end. Did you see the beautiful 1 and 2 and 3? He really showed us the retard there in that next to last measure. Really nice. So lots to like, Nick. Look at how low, too. See if there's places where you could bring it up and let it live just a little bit higher so the strong beats have a little bit more place to live. Low. People conducting low. I've never had this problem before. This is amazing. It's a good problem to have.
Like trying to get the accent, but then not getting up for the other stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is. Good for you. Okay, hop up there. Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be, He is Alpha and Omega. He the source, the ending, He. Breathe. Of the things that are, that have been, and that future years shall see. Evermore and evermore. Cool. I saw a little bit of percussionist flick in you, maybe not as much as we did in Nick. I don't think that you were breathing with us. And that's not uncommon because you're a percussionist, right? You don't have to breathe to play your instrument. Can you breathe the cutoffs as if you were a wind player? Just do that opening section for us. Ah, shoot. You know what? For interest of time. But look at the video on that. See if you could practice mega. Because you'll discover that breath is the inspiration. It's like how normal communication works. It'll just make it easy for the ensemble. They won't know why, but you will. Cool? Veronica, let's pop you up there. Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be, it's interesting if you're hearing things, you can tell that she's hearing, right? Because it's kind of like you can see what she wants. It's fascinating. I want you to do something. Right now you've got your feet pretty close together. Can you get just a little bit, and I just want you to conduct this like it's forte. Just that opening line. Of the Father's love begotten. Just that much. Of the Father's love begotten. Cool. I wanted you to do that for two reasons. On the video, you're showing us with your whole body, which again, it's not categorically wrong. It's only undesirable because it's not in your conscious control. The other thing that I want you to see is you've got this pull away from the ictus of 1. Can you allow beat 1 to rebound naturally before you go to beat 2? You will find that if you're always over here for 2 on that inside gesture, or 2 for 3, this limits you artistically because then you've got to cover that real estate. So see if you can figure out how to rebound up and then go whatever direction you need to go for that next beat. You'll just have more artistic options that way. So still body, broad body, rebound straight up from 1. Give her some love. Emily. Of the Father's love begotten, ere the world began to be, He is Alpha and Omega, He the source, the ending, He of the things that are, that have been, and that future years shall see, evermore and evermore. Miss Emily, I have 2 challenges for you. Challenge number 1, you need to go back and do some work on patterns, right? Because right now it's kind of, you know where the pulses are. You've learned the music, but your patterns are kind of crazy all over the place. So you need to revisit that. The other thing that I want you to revisit is I want you to revisit all of the asymmetrical meters. We're not seeing the slow rebound of the lift that we need to have. Can we do that really, really quick? We've got 1 more minute, everybody. Can you do He, the source, the ending, and I want you to create the top of the pattern, He, the source. So it's a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Everybody do it with her. Here we go. He, the source, the lift, lift, lift. I see this. I see you marking each one. Just say lift, lift, lift without a stop in each one. Yeah. He, the source. Everybody, and go. He, the source, the ending, He. Again. He, the source, the ending, He. You've got to get to the point so you can feel those. So you need to conduct all of those 5, 8s, and 7, 8 measures about 100 times till they feel good. Cool? Have a blessed day. Great job, everybody. Give everybody a hand, including Miss Emily. So this will be your process.